Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, I want to take a look at this book, which is DC's Blackhawk, number 234, from 1967. And here it says, it's taking over the new Blackhawk era. Cry havoc, the terrible twins. Okay, and Blackhawk goes back to the 40s. This book is written by Bob Haney with pencils by Dick Dillon and inks by Charles Quidera. And Blackhawk goes back to well, actually, it was originally with Quality Comics, making his first appearance in 1941 in Military Comics number 1. And it was created by Will Eisner and Chuck Quidera with Bob Powell. Then in 1957, DC acquired some properties from Quality Comics, including Blackhawk and Plastic Man, probably among others. And it was one of the few comics that was in continuous publication from the 40s to the 60s. And there was even it's popular enough that even in 1952 there was a movie serial produced of Blackhawk, which starred Kirk Alyn as Blackhawk, who had previously portrayed Superman in 2 movie serials earlier in the 40s. And I discovered, because I've never seen the Blackhawk serial, and I like the movie serials, and I discovered it on YouTube for free, and started watching it. And Kirk Alyn looks good in that Blackhawk costume. It looks hotter than hell, but he looks good in that uniform. And here, at this time, I take it they did a big revamp of Blackhawk and Blackhawk characters. And when Blackhawk started, it was basically a mercenary unit fighting for the Allies against the Axis powers in Europe, and they worked out of the secret Blackhawk base on Blackhawk Island, wherever the hell that was, supposedly someplace in the Mediterranean. And of course, so it was basically originally a war comic, but they kind of shifted focus after the war, and I think they were primarily fighting against spies and saboteurs, and against the communist threat, etc. And which is carries on to here, but here they had kind of a revamp. One of their characters created all these gizmos and gadgets and costumes. They all took the core group of Blackhawks, which was I think 7 people. All they created new identities for themselves with gadgets, which gave them certain powers and stuff. And it's kind of silly, but which is par for the course for Silver Age DC. And Dick Dillon did the pencils on this cover as well as the interior, and he is probably better known. His work, it wasn't as recognizable because his work is more stylized here than later with his work, long running work on the Justice League title. When it was action and adventure and some silliness. And here are the Terrible Twins. They're up against a character. If they ever give an origin for these super characters here, super powerful and invulnerable characters here, it's in a later issue. But they're Terrible Twins. They are identical twins, and they don't like each other. The only way to tell them apart is the chain. The bad guy, the bad one, has the chain on the left hand. The good one has the chain on the right hand. And they are large, super strong, Hulk-like characters in many respects. And DC had created a few Hulk-like characters as menaces. Back then, they had in Batman, I think it was primarily Batman, they had Blockbuster, who was very Hulk-like, and then of course here these Terrible Twins who are Hulk-like, and of course their most Hulk-like character was Solomon Grundy, but he predates the Hulk by at least 20 years. So let's take a little look inside. And there you see Blackhawk and the Terrible Twins. A splash page. And the Blackhawks were of course military based, and they're aviation based. in the 40s, they used and later too, these cool looking fighter planes, which looked fantastical, looked like they were made up, but it was an actual fighter, a real fighter plane that was produced. I can't remember the name of it now. That was produced, designed and built, but never gone into production. But it really looked cool, so they used that one. And unfortunately, since they're so aviation based, there's no aviation in this issue at all, and they're more like, following on with the superhero boom, which gave rise to the Silver Age. And it's just a splash page giving you a little hint what's going on inside. Starts right off with a kind of a spy satellite. They call a hawk kite, watching stuff. And there's an island or place in Italy. Oh, it's Mount Vesuvius. Is erupting a bit. People running for cover, and here we see the Terrible Twins, and they are chained together, and they are herdsmen, and they don't like each other, and they're griping. They fight amongst themselves. And one's name is Romulus, the other is Rufo. And while they are sleeping at night, some lava from the erupting volcano comes down and melts the chain, which chains them together. And Rufo takes off, and he goes to see the crime lord, the leopard. And here you can see how powerful he is, and he's even bulletproof because they're shooting at him. He goes to the villain leopard because he wants to work for him. Then we get to the main story: a funeral procession. Looks like these monks and one of the Blackhawks in the coffin, but it's all a fraud. And here, this approaching the funeral procession is being interrupted by this hay cart coming in. opens up, and there are these guys in these leopard masks, and they start blasting away at the funeral procession, which is the Blackhawks in the robes. They doff their robes and their costumes, and that's right, their costumes are all bulletproof. Now we see. Then they go to town, beating up and blowing up their attackers, until they're interrupted by what the blazes? The big guy. He's Rufo. Comes smashing in, grabs the coffin. So the coffin is the thing, and then takes off, beating the crap out of all these guys. And you get to see the and there's the golden what do they call him? Golden Guardian, something like that. Golden Gladiator. I've forgotten what they call him. It's silly. One of the Blackhawk boys, and he shoots gold. And even the gold doesn't weigh the guy down. That's pretty silly. And his mechanical armor does nothing. Wham, wham, wham. And no effect. And silly gizmos, they have no effect. And they're on the following on the in a railroad cart, and he rips up the tracks. And they are stopped by this villainous character. And here we find why this book was had so cheaply, because someone had cut out a coupon, so only a little bit of the story is missing, but they cut something out, and just half of a page of the story. And he gets Rufo gets that coffin to the leopard, and there's information about where some missiles are in this country that they're in is a communist country, an undesignated communist country, and they're where the missiles are located. And now the leopard, he can either sell it back to the authorities there, or sell it to the West. And so they decide to sell it to the West because they can't get it back, but they want this the new gizmo that just developed by the American scientists, and it's an electronic shield, basically a force field to protect them. And some nice artwork. It is more stylized. I didn't recognize it as Dick Dillon. The more I look at it, the more I see it, though. And and some good action, adventure, drama, and continuity, panel continuity, and visual storytelling. Here they are back in their monk's robes again. They're trying to contact Washington, and goes up the chain all the way up to LBJ, who was president at the time. And then this is kind of silly. Use a rocket. And inside the rocket, this capsule pops out, and the gizmo that they're needing for their ransom is floating down, and inside is with the gizmo is one of their members, Chop Chop, who is called Dr. Hands, or is it Mr. Hands? I don't know anything about him. It was kind of a racist, earlier racist version of the character, because he was the cook, not a fighter. But now he's one of the main characters, and he's got these special gloves, which I presume it's martial arts. I don't know what powers these special gloves give him. And now here they are. They're going to deliver the ransom when Rufo, and also in the process that Romulus, the other brother, he was helping the Blackhawks. But Rufo, who was kind of dumb, he doesn't understand, and he doesn't want to give the coffin back. He grabs the coffin and takes off, and dun dun dun, continued next issue. And of course, I don't have the next issue. I don't know how it ends up. And here we get some ads for Plastic Man and Jerry Lewis, and a bunch of other ads, Maniacs, and holy pinups, all kinds of posters and pinups. that you could order for cheap. And that is this issue of Blackhawk. I prefer, now I was never a big Blackhawk fan, I never read too much of it, but I prefer the Blackhawks from the, later from the 80s, when they went back telling war stories and the like, from World War II. But I like the Blackhawks, but I liked that era better. I think it was, well, almost everything from the 80s was better written than the stuff from the 60s. So that's all, folks. Ba-dee. And I hope you enjoyed this. What do you think of this Blackhawk era? I think the gadgets and stuff are pretty silly. Some are pretty silly in here, and the way that they're trying to turn them into superheroes rather than warriors. And so let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe. Do leave a comment, and remember, comics are art.